The underarm serve is one of the most underutilized techniques in tennis today. And we're going to be talking about why that is and how I think more players are going to be using it moving on into the future.
So I would argue that Nick Kyrgios, a god among men, is the guy to really pioneer and remodernize the underarm serve. In 2019, he opened his Madrid match against Daniil Medvedev with the most innovative shot in tennis, the underarm serve.
Now, for a lot of people still, there remains a stigma around using the underarm serve. It's seen as ungentlemanly, it's seen as poor sportsmanship. But with the evolving game of tennis, serves have become bigger than ever. More players are reaching that 200-kilometer plus mark every single time they go to step up to a first serve. And this has led to people moving farther and farther back behind the baseline, essentially eating their lunch while waiting for the serve to come to them. It's become a really effective technique to counteract some of the bigger servers like John Isner, Milos Raonic, and those kinds of players. But what it's left open is a massive amount of space between the player and the front of the court. And even using a fake underarm serve technique, such as what Nick Kyrgios was using in the Australian Open to keep Medvedev on his toes, can be really effective in offsetting a player's balance and keeping them guessing as to what's coming next.
So let's talk about the dick factor in the underarm serve. Let's talk about the dick factor in the underarm serve. Why do people not like it? I don't actually know what the big deal with the underarm serve is. I think for some reason in tennis, there's this idea that you shouldn't use deception because it's a gentleman's sport, as if a white man would never deceive anybody.
Tennis has a bad reputation among people who don't live in the sport as being old, stodgy, and for grumpy old white guys. And for the most part, that's true. And honestly, the attitude really carries through to a lot of the game, but I think that it leaves a lot of techniques that need to evolve into the sport on the table in the pursuit of perceived gentlemanliness. But when you're talking about a game of inches where you're playing a professional sport, you need to be utilizing any advantage that you can. And when people are standing that far back, they're just asking for you to use a different technique, something to trip them up. In tennis, you can have the best returner in the world, but if they're not sure where you're going to go, and they're uncomfortable about where they are on the court, it's going to affect their ability to return the ball effectively. And so if you can use the underarm technique, even as a fake out, to get them off their game and keep them thinking, that threat of the underarm is always going to be in their head, and they're always going to have to be ready for it. And that will fundamentally change how they're acting on the court and their ability to get the ball back in play.
What I want to hear in the comments is one time where you used the underhand serve to completely fuck your opponent. So the underarm serve is invented by me and perfected by him.